Gray Maynard joins the show today. Gray, how are you doing?
Doing great.
Mate, let's get straight into it.
Yeah.
Can you give the audience a bit of a view of how you started into MMA yourself?
Um, and so I started wrestling when I was like 3 years old and was on that journey. Went through high school, went to probably the number one team in the nation. It was in Ohio.
Yep.
Moved out of my house when I was in after the 10th grade. Just kind of moved to the school alone, and I lived in Ohio. But then I went to Michigan State. Then I was trying out for the 2004 Olympic team down in Arizona, training and stuff. And then came back to Las Vegas, and MMA was kind of getting popular, and got hooked up with BJ Penn, flew out there to Hawaii for a little bit, trained, and just kind of knew that I still had competition still that I wanted to do, and just went all in, and then hooked up with Couture, and that was it.
Gotcha. Tell us a bit more about Tough Five. Like, how did you get that
Yeah.
opportunity? And when you look back, what really resonates from the whole experience?
Um, so like I got in because I was training with Kendall Grove,
Yep.
Troy Mandalones, like all those guys, and my old college teammate Rashad Evans, he was on this season two. So it was kind of getting popular, and coming up in that time, everybody was checking on the internet, like if you were trying to get a smaller show fight, and it was he's a wrestler, three-time All-American, and it was just hard to get any competition. And so I was pretty much on the TV show with two pro fights and an amateur fight.
Yeah, gotcha.
And then I was on the TV show, and like everybody put in a good word, Couture, Rashad, Kendall Grove, there was a lot of people. And what resonates is just it's reality TV, and they kind of set it up that way, to be like not reality. You're training and stuff, and but that's not how you train. You got your support group, like in a real training camp.
Yep.
You have your kind of outlets, and Dana talks like on the TV show. This is the best thing you can. This is training all day, and he doesn't even get it. Like that's not training. That's a TV show to make them money.
Yep.
And whoever gets their best. It's not always the best guy wins. It's just whoever maybe got on the right team and just kind of did it the best way.
Gotcha. So you're a part of many amazing fights in your career in the UFC. I think most fans will
Right.
obviously, resonate with the Frankie Edgar trilogy. During that time of your life when that was happening, did you have an understanding of the impact this trilogy would have on both your careers, and how were the actual fights themselves?
Yeah. No, I think just focusing on getting better, on trying to beat him, really tuned out like all of that. You were kind of more in the moment, and like I feel just two opponents who are so like into it and focus on beating each other. You know, that's probably why it became big, and maybe down the road it'll be easier to kind of kick back, have a beer, and like, wow, that was cool. But during it was just more, we were trying to beat each other, and we were trying to get better, and we were trying to get trying to get the belt.
Gotcha. I'm not too sure if you saw the Hooker and the Poirier fight yesterday. Did you?
No, I didn't,
Gotcha.
but I heard
Gotcha.
it was unbelievable.
Yeah, it was up there. It was really good. From
Yeah.
this current crop of lightweights, what do you see the main differences between like when, for example, you and Frankie fought at that time, like the differences in the game?
So, I don't really see a lot of differences in the game.
Yep.
Um, you know, it's we're always well rounded. We're always in shape. Any top 55er is always in shape,
Yep.
ready to go, and has technique. If you take them down, if you can't just be a striker, right? You can't just be uh, just a wrestler. I mean, that's just a weight class where um, everybody's good, and when you're good all the way through. Your
Yep.
game is 100%. I'm seasoned. I'm kind of seeing a lot more guys who are bigger. They're massive 55 pounders.
Yep.
And every like the guys that I was probably going up against, Florian's, uh, Edgar's, me, Jim Miller. They're not huge, but like a lot of us drop down.
Yep.
But we got guys like Diaz. He's a big he's a big guy for that weight too.
Gotcha. So you retired from the
Yeah.
UFC in 2018, right?
Yeah.
Um,
I split ways with the UFC.
Gotcha. Yes. Sorry,
Yeah.
that's the term. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's in the future for Gray Maynard? Do you see competition in your future, or where's your mindset at currently?
I definitely going to compete. We just had to get through like a little bit of personal stuff. My wife was in her master's degree,
Yep.
and we just had a new baby. And in 18, when we kind of split ways, we kind of just wanted to take care of that, and that was like a good year. Then I started getting into coaching a little bit more and doing a lot of seminars. And, about that time I was kind of getting an itch. Like, I talked to my wife and it was, like, let's compete.
Yep.
And then COVID hit.
Yep.
I talked to a couple people, but, we actually took a trip out to Singapore to maybe take the head coaching job over at Evolve MMA.
Yep.
That Shatri owns. And we went out there. It was a great gym. But I just don't feel like I was prepared to put my career behind me.
Gotcha.
To the competing.
Understood.
So
the UFC has been copping a lot of flack lately regarding, the pay stuff, right? With some of the bigger guys, the Joneses and the Masvidals really leading the charge. Why do you think it's taken so long from a fighter's end to see like the stands that we're seeing from the top guys?
Yeah, well, just a lot of the numbers are more, they're more accessible now.
Yep.
We're seeing a lot more guys retire, but I guess we don't retire because it's only an opportunity. It's
sure.
Because it's not a career, right? That's what Dana said.
According to Dana White,
yeah. Yeah. We're seeing guys, in the gym that have nothing after their career, except beat up bodies. And, I think we're all getting smarter. And also there's more competition, right? So if we speak out, and the way it was back then, they would hammer you. You couldn't speak out.
Yep.
You couldn't do that. And they own the market. There was a study, there was something where, like, I heard, and this isn't, I don't know this for a fact, but the UFC makes like over 90 to 95% of every dollar spent in MMA.
Yep.
On MMA.
Yep.
So, they had a lock on the market, and just with everything going on, I think people are tired of being they're tired of like these guys making billions and billions of dollars, and we're watching it just being traded at the top, and nothing trickles down to us.
Yep.
So it's time. It's just, they held it down as long as they could have, as a business, as owners, because that's just the way it was. But, there's no rules protecting us. There's not one rule protecting us financially or contractually.
Gotcha.
That, you know.
And yourself specifically, I've seen in various media outlets have taken it up on a cause. Is it just time? Like, why now?
It's time for me, for sure. And I understand guys who aren't pulling in a lot of money and they're kind of stuck in contracts. That's hard. They could be put on the shelf, bad matchups. There's so many ways to control a fighter when you have him in longer contracts, when you have him in contract, when, just giving him bad matchups, just making life hard on you, just making it hard on you.
Yep.
And, when I retired, I still kept my mouth shut just because, it just didn't feel as if it was time, and I didn't know if it would ever be time.
Yep.
It just might, but once that ball started rolling, of course I'm going to put in my 2 cents. And this is what I've done my whole life, right?
Yep.
Competing. And I was with the UFC for 12 years, and I've watched guys, have problems and just like, I've watched it all. And, I'm not on their side. I'm on the guys' side, the guys and the girls who are in the octagon. And I got their back 100%. And, with everything too, I want to help, like, a lot of guys and girls kind of, on their health as well, their brain health, their body health, because once you stop this sport and when you start the sport, you don't even comprehend that.
Yep.
Right. But once you stop this sport and you got all these issues, these brain problems, these brain health problems, physical problems, and then you're broke on top of it, it's a lonely road, and I've watched it happen a lot. And so, I'm really trying to help the people around me, but, I want to get that out to everybody though, too,
Yeah. Gotcha. Can you give us a rundown with, dealings with the UFC that made you believe that you were being treated unfairly?
Could you tell me that again?
Yeah, could you give us a rundown with some examples of dealings with the UFC that made you feel that you weren't getting, whether it was financially a correct share of what that kind of looked like, or just unfair treatment?
Again, the way they pay us. I was on a pay-per-view main event, fighting for a title.
Yep.
I walked to the cage guaranteed 26 grand.
Yep.
And then it was one of the greatest, fights probably in history, one of them, and there was never like any extra, it was like standard backroom bonus, standard fight of the night, and they just take it, and then they tell you to go, just like, whatever, this is ours now, and that's what they do to lock you into contracts is with the Ali Act, you're a free agent pretty much every fight.
Yep.
Which people have to understand. Once you get once you get your name up there, you're going for the title. That's when you should be able to renegotiate each time. And that's what George is talking about is, he fought for the BMF. Now they have him locked into a contract, and he blows up. And he even talked about like how, which this happens a lot. You get paid for like a title fight, you get paid for a big fight, and then you decrease after that. Yep. Right. Because they don't want to be, they want you to be locked in, but they don't want to be locked in, but they can cut you at any time. And why would they cut a person when there's a big name?
Yeah, understood. Uh, what effect can managers play in this negotiation? Is it like, do they not have any power here? Or
Yeah, so back when I was um, competing more, for the title and stuff, there wasn't a lot of competition. So there wasn't, you know, hey, let's get your contract done with, and then we'll go check with a Bellator,
yeah, okay,
One FC. It was just kind of them and Strikeforce, and then they bought out Strikeforce.
yep,
And Bellator was just starting up. We didn't know what was going to happen with them like year to year.
mm,
So it was pretty tough. But back then, managers were a lot more restricted because you couldn't negotiate too much. And then if they wanted you to go up against a person, you pretty much had that choice. There was no choice. It was just, this is who we need you to fight. And, if you don't take it, then they extend your contract even more.
yeah, gotcha.
So now managers are having a little bit more negotiations, especially with where the UFC is at right now, in the competition. But the UFC has to start, producing and has to keep producing. So there's a little bit more need like on our part, but that still locks us in the contracts. We're not covered by the Ali Act.
Yep. It seems like a lot of past fighters have come up in terms of, the Joe Silva hashtag story. What were your dealings with Joe Silva historically like when you had them?
You just tried to keep him happy,
Mm.
but it was hard to do. If you pulled out of if you got hurt, and you pulled out early, he was pissed because it was too early or pissed because it was too late. I mean, he really tried to strong arm. And at the time, I guess you thought he was just working for a salary, but, obviously he had a stake in the company,
Yep.
and that's kind of, it didn't really, it all made sense, like when he got paid out, when everything got bought out and he got paid and, he left, it made sense, and he was very unprofessional. He was very demanding. But, on a personal basis, if you're talking to him at a fight, he was all right, but he told you how he felt about how you competed. And to be honest, that's not really his job.
Yep.
Like, you put the fights together, you're the matchmaker, shut up.
Yep. I think
And that's not really any of their jobs, right?
Yep.
You put the fights together, you have and then just stay out of it. Like, Dana tries to tell people, go to this gym, train like this. And the guy's never really even trained. And he's telling us, but it's more of a power trip, and that's how Joe Silva is, and they wanted to breed to have these fighters, like, there's certain way, exciting fights, but they don't want to pay you for exciting fights. And it's just, it was basically all for their benefit.
Gotcha. Can you give the audience a rundown on the economics of fighting, and maybe specifically like a fight camp? If you had to prepare for example, like what goes through that process financially?
Yeah, I just did a tweet about it, and because Alvarez, he was talking about it a little bit too. But you take $100,000, where a lot of people aren't making $100,000 flat. It's usually 50-50, and a lot of guys are even lower.
Yep.
But what I would do, rule of thumb, like 10% goes to your manager. Wait, let's start off right off the top. 20% in taxes at least.
Sure. Yep.
It could be higher, but let's just, if you put 20%, if you got your check and then just put it in a, kind of different account to hold on to it and to know that that's
It's going to
the
tax.
taxes
Yep.
I'm going to pay in or you pay it quarterly, whatever it is. But that's kind of how 20% that takes you down to 80 grand. 10% for a manager, that takes you down to 70 grand. 10 to 15% for coaching, that takes you down to 60,
50-ish.
55-ish.
Yep.
Now you're talking about just training camp, like supplements, like just like extra food, or just the training camp costs, right? Driving to the gym every day, gas fees. It's just it starts adding up, and that's 10%. Now we're talking about possibly 45% of your purse. 55% of your purse has gone to just the fees of doing a camp and competing. That's taxes, manager, training, and expenses. Then if you're smart, you start your retirement fund. You put a little bit, 5 to 10% into that. Then you do a little bit of in real estate, maybe stocks, 10 to 5% of that. And then let's see, I had something up. Oh, and then you got to start building up just an account, right? To where if you have a layoff, you can count on that 6 months of your bills.
Yep.
Right? You got to start building that up.
Yep.
And there's been a ton of times where I needed that. I had to live off that. And it's like, well, you got 50 grand in the account. Well, what happens if I don't compete for 6 months? That's gone,
Yep. Yep.
And like at the end of the day, like people are like, oh, I'm going to get paid 100 grand to fight. Well, really, that's like in your pocket, 35, 40 grand if you do it right.
Yep.
And you're putting a little bit of money away for after your career, or after you're done, because you have to do that.
Yep. I know it's a very layered question, but how do we solve this problem? Like, what do you think's the start? Is a union the way? Like what would the right direction look like?
I mean, that'd be nice, but we have to get that. We got to get the Ali Act passed.
Yeah. Okay.
That'll help us to have negotiation leverage, and to have, and not be in handcuffed to contracts, because that's what happens. Like, we're missing out on a ton of big paydays when we do win a couple times or 3 or 4 times. We should be able to start negotiating, going to different places, but they know that. And the Ali Act didn't cover that, and that might have been why they bought it.
Yep. Sure. Thanks, Gray. It's been amazing having a chat with you. Really sort of insightful. When all is said and done, what do you want your legacy to look like? Like, what do you want to be remembered about?
It always changes. At the beginning, it was just like wanted to be the best, and then towards the end of my career, once I fought for the title, and I just, it never worked out like financially.
Yep.
With me, and that's when I started to get really into training and really into concepts and how people need to train, how they need to take care of their body. And my wife, she did her schooling in kind of functional health.
Yep.
How to take care of your body, longevity, and we're both into brain health, and we want to help people to do that, and just putting my stamp on as many people as I can to help them get the most that they can out of their career. Yep. Right, with training, with health, and then live a happy life afterwards.
It's a fantastic cause. Gray Maynard, thanks for joining the show, and good luck in your future moving forward.
Yeah, I appreciate it. It was awesome, man.
Cheers, buddy.